Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Non Sequitur Nerds. Tonight, things are gonna get weird because we're talking weird and obscure anime tonight. We've talked about a lot of the more popular mainstream ones. We're gonna talk about some of the lesser known or just bizarre anime out there. But like always, I'm Tim, joined by Ian. How's it going, buddy?
My hands smell like maple syrup.
That's you got a Canadian girlfriend?
No, I actually made maple syrup.
Oh, because then
earlier
her
tonight.
hands would smell like maple syrup.
They
Never
really
mind.
do smell
Never
like
mind.
maple
Never
syrup.
mind.
Anyway, yeah.
Like
So
you wait, hang on, back
favorite-
up. You actually made homemade maple syrup?
Yes, it's
So,
very easy to make.
so you went out to a tree.
I mean, it wouldn't be the weirdest thing we talk about tonight.
Well, yeah, that is true. That is true.
Anyway, back to the question on hand. How am I doing? Perfectly fine. It's been kind of a busy week, but that's the life of an adult.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the
And to
truth?
think when we were younger, we always used to complain about, having to do things like homework and working, like 16 hours a week.
Oh God, 16-hour work weeks. I miss them.
What fools we were.
I know, right?
Anyway, so on to the topic at hand tonight, which is weird and obscure anime. Tim and I have definitely seen our fair share of just kind of off the wall or obscure, weird kind of stuff.
Yeah, well,
So
just a few.
Yeah, I'm actually going to start tonight's list with one of our more favorite ones from some of our favorite studios, or one of our favorite studios, which would be the anime would be Magical Shopping Arcade Abenobashi.
Yes, I'm glad that one made our list. I love Abenobashi.
This is a very obscure and weird anime by the creative minds behind Studio Trigger, formerly Gainax. So these are the people that are creating animes like Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill, Panty and Stocking, and Garter Belt, which we'll probably talk about later.
Yeah, probably.
So Studio Trigger's known for their kind of weird, over-the-top, zany action, animation styles, and just all in all goofiness. And this show is all about all of that.
Yeah, with a dash of slice of life and a love story.
Yeah. Yeah, it actually gets kind of like it's heavy towards like the last two episodes.
Well, it's a weird mixture. I mean, and weird's kind of the topic, but it's just a weird mixture of a little bit of everything. I mean, it has comedy, it has sci-fi, it has a love story, it has slice of life, it has medieval fantasy, it has. I mean,
Tim, nothing so sci-fi as pissing off into space.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you. I mean, it's even got like a little bit of isekai in it, kind of. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it follows two kids, Shinji and
I can never remember her name. It's been years since I've seen it.
Man, what is her name now? It'll come to me later. Anyway, Shinji and his female friend, as they travel to different worlds, basically trying to find a way to get home. And I won't spoil the rest of it for you, but zany antics ensue, and they keep running into these same Army. That's right.
Yep.
They keep running into these same buxom characters throughout their adventures, as well as Mister.
Yep, Mister.
Yep. It's fun, it's over the top, it's weird, and actually some of the more enjoyable things is when you turn on the enhanced subtitles, which actually wind up being like MTV's old pop-up videos that would pop up facts and like factoids and things like this.
Yeah.
So on the old DVDs, if you turned on, I think it was subtitles 3, it was in English. But it would pop up like little facts because the show is constantly making callbacks to other anime.
And not even ones that they've produced, like animes from other studios. Or even actual like live action movies. They make a lot of call outs to stuff like that too. It is very irreverent, but it is aware that it is irreverent.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's the whole premise is it's very self-aware. Like it totally knows what it is and it leans into it.
Yes.
But it's such a fun series and just kind of weirded out there, and
like
the blooper reels are also freaking hilarious.
Yes. Like when I first picked that up, like it was at Sam Goody actually back when they were still a thing. And like the way the guy described it to me, he's like, "Yeah, I've only seen the first 2 episodes, but this is what it is." And like he described it as more of like a Sentai show. Like this kid, he's like, "Yeah, this kid has different suits and he gets different powers, and they travel to different worlds." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that sounds like a cool like adventure anime, and the animation style looks neat." Then I picked it up and went, "This is not what he described, but I like it better actually." So
Yep. All right. Well, we don't want to dwell too far on that one, but definitely add it to your list if you want something weird, zany, and kind of out there to watch. It's
yep.
really fun.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yep. What do you got, Timothy, on your list?
Well, one a little more mainline, but I think definitely falls into that weird category. One that I'm a fan of, the original Fooly Cooley. I see. Well, okay. Like I know that you've never really cared for it much, but I mean, you have to admit that Fooly Cooley, while it holds an iconic place amongst, I don't want to say newer anime because it came out forever ago now, but of more the modern era of anime. Um, I mean, just like between the art style, the characters, just the weird. It explains what's going on, but it doesn't explain what's going on. But stuff's going on that they didn't explain, but it works for it. It really works for it. I mean, and like I own a couple anime wall scrolls, obviously, and Hara Hara Harako was my first ever wall scroll. It's a full wall scroll of her holding up her guitar, leaning against her Vespa moped. I mean, like,
Right.
she's an iconic character. Everybody knows who she is. But I mean, Fooly Cooley is one of those series that, again, weird. It's kind of a off the wall coming of age story. Is like if we had to make it normal, that's the best I can say. But I mean, it very much leans heavily into that, those awkward early teenage years or preteen years, growing up, starting to, in typical representations anyway. Oh, I don't want to say typical in word I'm looking for its time, mainstream presentations of how a young man grows up, things like that. But then it throws in this weird like sci-fi interdimensional space pirates and stuff, weird stuff like that at the end. And it just seems it's so out of left field, but it works, and it works really well, in my opinion. Ian,
Say what you will. I will agree with you that it does have a place in, kind of like the list of like influential anime and things like that. And again, it's from some of the same minds that were behind Abenobashi and have since gone on to form Studio Trigger. It was produced by Gynex and Production IG, oddly enough,
right?
because they're definitely not known for their more weird and absurd, acerbic animes. But it does have a place on lists out there. It is just not my cup of tea.
Fair enough. Fair
Uh,
enough.
so, but looking at some of the other items on the list, um, we can't really talk about like weird off the wall anime without making a JoJo's reference.
Oh my god,
So,
yes.
I mean, I don't know that I need to belabor too much about this one. I mean, it's a very long running series. It was, an older series that was then kind of pseudo rebooted, pseudo restarted, and brought back.
Pseudo continued. I mean, it's yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So and it's one of the most oft referenced anime that's ever out there, just because it's so over the top and weird. I mean, we're talking like all of the main characters look like they could snap Arnold Schwarzenegger in half.
Yes.
You've got the concept of the stands and the aura. Um, then the latest season on Netflix gave us, one of last season's best girls in Jolin Cujo. It's a very iconic series because it has
Yeah.
influenced so much. And like it's kind of like The Simpsons or South Park of anime. Like if somebody else is if some other anime does it, then they're like, oh well, JoJo's did it first.
Was that a JoJo reference?
That was a very meta JoJo. It was a JoJo's reference about JoJo.
Exactly. Man.
So
And and
anyway,
yeah, JoJo's. It's just like it's called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure for a reason. It is so incredibly bizarre. If you want a good laugh and a good kind of summary of uh, the first series, Team Four Star did a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure abridged, and it tells you everything you need to know. Watch it; it is
right,
hilarious. It is hilarious.
right.
And
Well,
the creators are also like big like rock and roll fans. So like a lot of their characters are named after either different famous rock musicians or bands or just musicians in general. Like the main villain's name is Dio. That tells you what you need to know.
right. Yep. And so moving on, you thought it was going to be a new anime, but it was actually me, Dio. Uh,
Exactly.
so what else you got?
Okay, one that you will not be surprised this is on my list. Coming out in the summer of 1999, it is the Porkies of anime comedy sketch shows, Colorful.
Uh,
Not to be confused with the newer movie. As I discovered trying to research this before we recorded, there is a newer anime called Colorful that is a very, very deep, deals with a lot of serious issues. This is not that. This came out quite a while ago. Effectively, the whole thing is take Robot Chicken style sketches, combine it with an anime, and then just douse the whole thing in like 5 gallons of fan service. And you have Colorful.
yep,
It is
that's
just
pretty
like
much what I remember.
there is like no plot to it. There is no overarching story. The only like themes that go through each sketch are fan service and that random cat that they yell pussy at in reference to it being a cat.
Right.
Pussy! And it's always the same voice, too. It's just, the cat will just be, like, sitting there, just, like, napping, or cleaning its leg, or just doing a cat thing. And it's that same voice that says it every time, but it cuts in between little clips. Um, and it is just, I had to struggle to even find, like, basic information about, like, the release date or anything on it, because this is just so obscure. Um, And again, with that newer anime Colorful coming out, which apparently is pretty good from what I'm seeing on reviews, it was hard to dig this up. But Colorful is one that it's another anime that I got at Sam Goody. A lot of these Sam Goody had, I'm noticing thinking about it. But it's just weird. Like I mean, I watched it several times just because of how weird it was. But yeah, it was very very colorful.
Uh,
I kind of want to see if I can find it now because I have no idea where the DVD for that is anymore.
Kevin probably has it.
Probably, probably.
Yeah.
But anyway, so all right, next up, what do you got, bud?
So, an anime that is, I would say, is bizarre or at least obscure, but very good. One that you and I both know and love, which is Vampire Hunter D.
Yes, both of them.
Both of them is it's an older series, talking about following the adventures of the vampire hunter, the half vampire or Dampier,
Yep.
D,
Yep.
and his magical talking hand, or possessed hand, voiced by Jonathan Winters, actually, which makes it even weirder but funny.
I can't think of his hand without thinking of that night we were up till like
the
5 a.m. talking about the logistics of how different things would work with that hand.
Yes,
And not even the
that
things,
was
well, including the things that you immediately think of when I say that, but like like the full like biology of it, how it would work. Like if D is having a meal, would Left Hand just take some of the food for himself to see if it tasted good? Can he taste stuff? I mean, just all kinds of
yeah.
random shit.
Yeah, and the anime again, they're actually really two movies,
Yeah.
and they're very enjoyable. They're very not kid friendly.
No. Especially the second one, but I think that's because that art style, one, it's a lot more modern than the original one, but it's just a lot more visceral, but
Yeah.
in an enjoyable way.
Yeah, so I mean, if you've seen newer animes like Hellsing Ultimate, some of the more new vampire inspired animes or even movies, a lot of that stuff kind of can draw inspiration from D
Oh yeah.
and Vampire Hunter D. I mean, it's such an amazing series, and I definitely suggest that you go and check it out. I don't want to really say much about it, so because I don't want to spoil it, because it's really enjoyable.
Yeah.
So
But
definitely
but
add that to a watch list.
and not your typical vampire anime, and especially in the way that they treat the lore.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, you do obviously get a lot of the same things. Vampires drink blood, blah blah blah. But even like other creatures of the night that they introduce, especially in the second one, it's not your typical vampire movie, but in a good way.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, what else you got?
Well, another one for me coming from the fine folks over at Sam Goody, who are not sponsoring this episode because they don't exist. Or no, Sam Goody's still around, aren't they? No, it's
I have no idea.
FYE is the thing now. Um,
Yeah.
one that I know I have watched. Very similar in scope to Fooly Cooley, Dead Leaves. Ironically, also starring a female main character with a sidekick who's a guy with a TV for a head. Starting to see a theme here. But no, Dead Leaves is another one of those just bizarrely animated. It was just a one-shot movie, so I mean, it didn't have a full series. But the whole premise of it is the two main characters, Retro and Pandy. Pandy, yep. Wake up. They've got amnesia. They don't know who they are, where they are, why they are. Um, but they end up just wreaking havoc in this city and getting taken to the titular Dead Leaves, which is a prison on the moon. Um, there they wreak some more havoc and save the day. I don't even know if you can call it that. But don't want to give too many details on it. But it is another one of those just bizarre anime of that era. It was like early 2000s.
Released in winter of 2004.
2004. Yep, I just saw that. Yep. But
Yep, and it shouldn't be really much of a surprise, but it's very reminiscent of Fooly Cooley because it was directed by the same director as Fooly Cooley,
yep.
Imaishi Horiyuki, and it's been described, and I'm reading this here. It's been described by some as quote Fooly Cooley on acid.
Yeah, that is the most apt descriptor I can give of that one. It really is.
Yeah,
it's definitely made for an older audience versus Fooly Cooley.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
So, but yeah, just very overly stylized, very bright and colorful. Not like the last colorful I talked about. Really, really good English dub. Actually, I will say that I really enjoyed the English dub of it.
Yeah, I'll admit, and it's one of those ones that it's like I hate to say it, but watching it high or sober or drunk, it's not going to matter. You're like, it's a mind trip no matter how you watch it,
but in a good way.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so another more kind of off the wall, obscure anime. Sorry, I'm trying to look through my list here. I had one. I haven't myself watched this one, but I've seen quite a lot about it through like various YouTube videos and different lists and things like that. It's an anime called Inuyashiki. Have you ever heard of it?
I've heard of Inuyasha.
Nope, it's called Inuyashiki.
All right.
Basically, it's about a 58-year-old man who is abducted by aliens and turned into a cyborg killing machine. But he still has the body of a 58-year-old man, so he just looks like a frail old man, but he can effectively like turn like he's a cyborg. Like he's all like he can, form weapons out of his arms and things like that, and he just kind of like he decides to use his powers for good.
Okay.
And so, kind of like goes out and fights crime. There's several clips on YouTube and whatnot that you can go and see, and like he invades like a Yakuza stronghold or something like that.
Right.
And it's just this old looking dude without a shirt on, just like beating the piss out of a bunch of Yakuza.
All right.
But it's one of those, like, again, from what I've seen, it's one of those really weird yet kind of it's a darker but has kind of some heart to it.
Okay.
And so it's one of those series that it can be really really kind of out there. And if it kind of goes to tell you anything, it was written by the same people that wrote the anime Gantz. If you've
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, if you've ever seen that one, which is also another obscure one, just not one that I had kind of on my list.
Right.
But yeah, so that one's another one that I suggest you go and kind of check out
Huh. May
if
have
you have
to.
some time.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
So,
All right. What you got?
well, next on my list, one that I would dare to say outclasses JoJo in its level of absurdity. I know that that's a big claim, but it is the infamous anime known as Bobobo Bobobo. You're familiar with
I, I
Bobobo?
I knew I knew as soon as you said outclasses uh JoJo's that it would be Bobobo. Uh
So, Bobobo, just to sum it up, the main character is a man whose superpower is controlling his nose hairs and using them as weapons. I don't really think I need to say anything more about it. I think, we're good with that. I mean, that
yeah,
tells you everything you need to know.
yeah, travel, very much like late 90s, early 2000s animation style.
Yep.
Travels around with like a sentient sun.
Yeah, with
Um,
nightmare fuel for a face.
yes.
Yeah, that thing just
Um,
creeps me out.
yeah, and just like various other uh creatures.
Yeah.
Also, again, it's very meta in that it knows exactly what it is,
Yes.
and leans very heavily into it.
Like
Um,
there is a plot to it, but half the time the plot is derailed just by the characters being their weird ass selves. I mean,
yeah,
like the filler has filler for this because they get so damn sidetracked in just being weird. It is truly truly bizarre. But had a good stint of popularity for a while, which okay, all right,
I'm pretty sure it was because it was on Toonami, or at least
yeah,
late night Adult Swim block, and all of the people that were high, like the
that's when
college kids that were high, the same ones that enjoyed watching like 12-ounce Mouse,
oh god.
um, and Tim and anything that's created by Tim and Eric.
Like, I'm sorry, like they must be doing something good for Cartoon World for Toonami because they kept having show after show after show. None of their stuff that I think was funny at all.
No, it's just
Like, I know this is a line I say a lot of the time. I was not the target demographic, but I don't, apart from like the stoners that were awake at that time slot, I don't know who was. And even then, like, I have a hard time believing that.
yeah, yeah. Uh, all right. Well, moving on. One of a newer anime that I actually quite enjoy that I don't know if you've seen, but it actually has an anime and then a spin-off, kind of a spin-off series of its own.
Okay.
Cells at Work. I don't know if
I,
you've
I
heard of
have
this one.
heard of it, but I'm not super familiar with it.
So basically, take Osmosis Jones and
Okay.
make it into an anime.
Okay.
It follows
You
the
have me
daily
sold thus far.
It follows the daily lives of animeized, uh, cells inside of your body. Like they're anthropomorphized cells, and it follows the lives of their everyday lives. So like the white blood cells are fighting off germs, the red blood cells are carrying oxygen, and it's kind of an actiony slice of life type show. It can get kind of bloody because like the
Literally.
white blood yes, the white blood cells are fighting germs, except they have like daggers, and it shows them literally like killing them. Like
Huh.
almost shonen style. And the spin-off series is called Cells at Work Code Black,
All
and
right.
it follows the same logic, except it's cells that are inhabiting a not healthy body. So it's like people like they're in a man's body, except he's very like he's stressed, he's overeating, he's not sleeping enough, he's got bad cholesterol, and like it's the cells like having to deal with the body
With
fall
worst
out of
case
that.
scenario kind of thing.
Right, with worst case scenario, and this is the series that brought the cells that were code black was the series that brought us the big tittied white cell waifu. Um, I'll have to show it to you. Um, I'll have to show it to you so you can understand. But
Apparently,
basically,
because you're
in
speaking madness, Ian.
in the first series, the red blood cells were pretty much all female, and the white blood cells were male. In this series, they're reversed. The red blood cells are male, and the white blood cells are female.
Huh.
So it's out there, but it's actually a really good set of series. And they're only about 13 episodes each, so
Okay, that's not too
it's a
bad.
pretty easy watch. So, uh, yeah. So what else do you got?
Well, one of the last ones on my list here, going for a more obscure, less weird on this one. A 2001 film, and you and I've talked about it. You know, it's one that I hold very near and dear to me. Metropolis.
Mm.
Metropolis is one that is very very deep. I mean, deals with what it means to be human. Deals with love and loss, with war. Effectively, the whole premise of it is it's very, I don't want to say steampunk because it's not really steampunk, but it's very that style, but still futuristic. As far as like the
Right.
aesthetic and everything of it, but the whole premise of it is Metropolis is a city that humans and robots live together, and robots are less than second class citizens. I'm just kind of looking at my notes here. Um, Long story short, a new breed of robot named Tima gets created, and this detective and his nephew are trying to hunt down the scientists that made her. And effectively, she is, for lack of a better description, like she's designed to be the ultimate weapon. But throughout the whole series, I mean, you grow attached to characters. Um, this is one of the anime that like I cry every time I watch it, just because it is so emotionally engaging. But sadly, it's not, at least to my knowledge, not a very well known series. Again, it was just a one standalone movie. Um, but I just every time I watch it, like I always get, even though I know it's going to happen, I get engaged with it. I cry in it. I laugh in it. Um, the art style is amazing. The soundtrack is phenomenal. Um, just everything about it. Like even some of that early 2000 CG that they use in some of it is done in a way that doesn't make it feel like they were putting it in there just to do like, oh, this is going to be the next big thing. It fits with the aesthetic and it flows very naturally with it. Um, Very, like as far as the character designs, very, I want to say Astro Boy inspired. Like it's, I mean, but with a modern take on it. But I know
Yeah.
it was written by Katsuhiro Otomo, who did Akira, which is a very well known anime. So if you like Akira, absolutely give Metropolis a watch. You will fall in love with it.
Yep. Well, I think we'll do one more
Okay.
before we leave, so we don't leave you on too dire of an ending there.
I know,
But
right?
um, one
Buzzkill
that
Tim over here.
right, so one that I know you will absolutely appreciate, and I was surprised on the list. To be honest,
All right.
the Urusei Yatsura movies. Um,
See, that was one that was on my list actually. I was what I was going to
okay,
end on, but
okay. Well, we'll go ahead and end on that one
all right, there
then.
we go. That works
Um,
out.
Yeah, so Urusei Yatsura is an older anime set of
Yes,
movies, series, um,
manga.
manga. You know, they originally actually aired starting back in 1981.
Yeah,
So if it tells you anything, that's probably why it's one of the more obscure series. Because while Tim and I are older than dirt, this series is actually older than
older
us.
than us.
Uh, right. It's so like weird and acerbic and out there. It
Yes.
follows kind of the adventures of the space alien Lum in her leopard striped bikini and
Well,
go-go
well,
boots.
she's supposed to look like an oni a lot of the time. I mean, because she's even got
Right,
the little horns and everything. So
right, and just don't grab her horns.
Yes.
Um, it's been a long time, honestly, since I've watched it. So there's parts of it that like kind of filter in and out of my memory about it, but
Right.
I definitely remember the don't grab the horns thing. If I remember correctly, Lum can fly or
Yes.
float,
Yep.
and she's extremely lazy and eats all the time.
I mean, she was pretty much every mid '80s anime main character hot girl. She was lazy and ate everything.
Right.
I mean, I hate to
Um,
say it, but like, I mean, you have her. You had, Sailor Moon was very much in that trope. Um, but at the same time, the same kind of character who would stand up for her friends. And I just got the picture you sent me about cells at work. Um, um, but yeah, it's the second movie, Beautiful Dreamer, in the series was actually the first anime that I ever got a chance to experience. And for me, it was so different. I mean, because I was used to like Thundercats, Transformers, Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, those kind of things. I had never seen a cartoon like this before, where it wasn't just, nonstop action or, characters that can bench press a tank or, stuff like that. It was
or
different, but
characters that were a tank.
I mean, yeah, literally. But it was just so different that there were characters that you actually cared about their feelings and their character progression and the story beyond, oh, is He-Man going to defeat Skeletor this week? And just like some of the concepts in it were like part of a culture that, young Tim, I didn't really understand much about Japanese culture. So like a lot of the stuff, my first time watching it, I didn't understand the references, but I was still enjoying it. And
Yep.
I mean, I went from that to Akira, so a little bit of a difference there. But that was when the internet was actually more of a readily available thing for us. So I was able to actually like look up more about this stuff and kind of broaden my horizons to be able to watch some of the other weird shit we talked about on this list.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Alrighty, everyone. Well, I think that'll probably do it for this episode. Thank you for joining us on our journey through the weird and obscure. Um, we obviously talked about a lot of different animes tonight, so definitely check out some of the ones that we've looked at. And of course, obviously, you're welcome to go out and kind of find some of your own. And we did mention, a few big ticket names on the sidelines. Akira. Then there's, the original Ghost in the Shell movie. Which is, these things are older, but so they, for our younger audiences, they may be obscure,
Yep.
but they're definitely things that we suggest you check out.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Um, so I think we'll go ahead and wrap up for tonight. But before we do, I'm gonna go ahead and plug a friend of mine who's just
Yep.
now getting into the YouTube world as well. So please go out and check out the Anavangelist on YouTube. He is a classically trained theater major who is also a bit of a nerd and a weeb like the rest of us.
Yep.
And he's taking that knowledge and kind of blending, the different facets of pop culture and classic literature and film, and kind of showing how all of these different things are influenced by anime, and anime is influenced by them. So it's a really interesting blend of all of these different elements. So check out his videos on YouTube at the Anavangelist. His first one is doing a comparison between Bram Stoker's Dracula and Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba. So
Hmm.
if
Interesting.
you want to find out how those two relate to each other, and it's a good way to get folks interested in anime. If you're not too interested, you can certainly draw between the Western and Eastern thought processes there. So go and check him out.
There you go. And
Alrighty.
I
Well,
know him too. So
yes, exactly. So alrighty. So with that, we'll go ahead and round out for the night. As always, you can catch our audio broadcasts on Spotify, as hosted on Anchor.fm, which feeds out to Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, several other podcasting sites. You can catch the recorded videos on YouTube at Non Sequitur Nerds. Then you can also catch us on social media, twitter.com/non sequitur nerd. Facebook.com/non sequitur nerds, and occasionally twitch.tv/non sequitur nerds. We should probably do something with that.
We keep
Maybe?
saying that. We're not gonna. We're not gonna.
Yeah, we're not.
We might. We'll just keep saying that. Keep them
Yeah.
waiting.
Keep it, yeah, exactly. Just like the He Who Shall Not Be Mentioned movie review that we have to do as well. As soon as we start getting that counter
Oh
up,
yeah.
to a little bit more.
I'm like, well, Doctor Strange came out recently, but I didn't think we were going to do that one yet because we haven't gotten a chance to see it. Oh, the other guy. All right.
Beetlejuice.
I mean, pretty much. I mean, if we say
Anyway.
his name 2 more times, we have to do the review then because we promised.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. All right, folks. Well, again, thank you very much for joining us. We wish you all a merry week and hope you all stay happy and healthy. And we look forward to you joining us next time. So, as always, for the Non Sequitur Nerds, I'm Ian.
And I'm Tim. Night, everybody.